Hey YouTube, Mike here. How we doing? Hope we all had a very good, safe, and productive week. All right, I want to go over this Starbond glue because I've been using it now for about a week and a half, and I want to demo it and show you pretty much one of the best CA glues I've used, and I've used it extensively with the RC and my models, but I'm going to show you what it would to bond some wood together. But before that, something happened right after I finished a video of the marble block. I had a 2x4x8 piece of cedar that the manager of Home Depot bought, and he asked me if I could cut it down to 3 inches by 3 inches and bring him, a couple. So I before the video, I laid it out and chopped it to get the knots out, and I think I was able to get about 15 pieces out of it. Well, I went over to my table saw, and I think I've mentioned numerous times that I have a problem with the circuit that feeds the table saw. It's a 20 amp circuit, and then I have a 15 amp circuit for the vacuum, but for some reason the breaker is weak. So I started to take the 2x4 and trim one end, and then I was going to trim the other end down to 3 inches. The first end, now let me step back a second. The pieces that I cut for the video, I had left over from my wife's feeder pole, and they've been sitting here in this garage since that video, up on my wood rack, and that is part of this video that's very important, which I'm going to get to. Well, I started to cut and the saw stopped. Hence the name. I was like, SOB. I went over to the panel, opened up the thing. I know exactly where the breaker is. I put my hand in there, and I, as you set a breaker off and on. I come back over, cut it. Now, remember, I already made the blocks for the video, and I already trimmed one end of his 2x4. Well, when I go to do the other end, now it's probably about 6 feet long. Yeah, about 6 feet long after chopping all the knots out. So 3 times the saw stops rotating. So I'm not going to keep saying saw stop. And I'm going over to reset the breaker, but I never looked in the breaker. So this is kind of like, don't do what I did. Well, on the 4th try, I had to go change my shorts. I'm pushing this piece, and I lower the blade down. Now, I already made this one cut, and then I went to go for the other cut. And when I got to here, and I'm going to go over to the saw, my hands were this far away from the saw. I'm pushing, as I normally do. I'm pushing away, I'm pushing in, and see, I even tried one end already. I already had an end cut, and it kept, that's when it stopped, and I just chopped it. And then I went to I turned the board around for this side. I got about that far into the board, and I don't know if it happened to you. It's a scary sound. Now, I've heard it, I've seen it demoed at the Festool Connect, I've watched YouTube videos, I've watched them with the hot dog, bring it across with the tea, and then boom. Well, when you're doing it and you're concentrating on the wood, and that thing just lets go, I actually, with my hands 2 feet away, jumped back and looked at my hands just like this. I was, and of course the saw stopped, the light is flashing. I immediately hit the switches, I step back, and I just stare at the saw. Now this is now, of course, jammed in the wood, it's jammed in there. I have the blade guard on, I have the splitter on, I have the poles, I have everything exactly the way I use that saw. what the heck caused this? Now, I can't turn the saw on and look, which I didn't even, I never noticed. Like I said, I'm honest, I tell you. So let each other know what is going on. On the side of the control box, there's a diagnostic for the green and red lights to blink. I've never noticed that. So I unplugged the saw. You know, all right, let me go sit down. And if I was a drinking man, I'd probably have a drink. It's a scary sound and an intense feeling when this thing goes off. So now, I unplug the saw. I look at the, I take a look at it. I move the fence. I get the wood out. And I take the plate off. And this is how it is inside the saw, just like this. So that's the way it is. There's a pin for you guys that have the SawStop. That's a indexing pin right here. And then there is a red lock tab piece that locks in. And then as you can see, there's a pickup on here. That's the electrical connection for the software. And you can see how the aluminum embeds, the blade embeds in the aluminum. And you see how they make all the little holes in it? It's thinner so that the blade doesn't have to go into something very thick. Okay, so I called Woodcraft up and said, what just happened to my saw? What did I do? They can't figure it out. They give me SawStop's phone number. I call, but of course it's on a Saturday, they're closed. So what I do is I got to figure this thing out. Well, first of all, I got to get this thing out, and it's not easy. You know, it's in the arbor. It's in the indexing pin. It has dropped all the way down, as low as the blade can go, probably even a tad lower. So to try to get this indexing, the actual lock end, you got to manipulate that, and of course it's not a big space. So once I get this out, okay, I check it, I look at it, it looks fine. Now you actually have to raise and lower the blade. You got to keep bringing the blade up and down, and you got to kind of wiggle it because it'll actually bind. You got to wiggle this thing off, and then this mechanism will come out. Now, once I get this out, I have a spare brake, I have a spare blade, and it's the original blade, but I swapped two of them out, and I bought a real good SawStop. It's a gold carbide tooth, 40 tooth blade, and I've been meaning to put that one in, but I get a little more. You know, I don't really, we don't do that much, so it's bugging me. So I go to my computer, take my iPad out here, and I Google it. What could happen? It took about an hour looking this thing up. And when I called SawStop, they said exactly. And probably some of you that know a lot about wood probably can figure it out already. But cedar holds moisture. It was wet wood. It'll hold moisture like twice as long as normal wood. The board that we picked out was all the way down at the bottom. So we moved a whole load of boards, 2x4s, to get to this piece because it was nice and straight and it had very little knots in it. So, of course, that board down at the bottom is got all the other boards on top of it and holds moisture. This board, which is not the board I had, but the board that I had, has been sitting in this hot garage for almost 2 months. Now, the owner of SawStop actually called me back. He wasn't there, he was out to lunch. Called me back to find out, because they said, hey, the Electronico's brake activated on his saw. But they didn't say that, he's okay. So the owner called me, Jim. And I'm like, no, Jim, I'm okay. And I go over it with him, and I go, Jim, do you think, I never said about how far down the board was, and he's like, yeah, and then he starts giving me the formula, inch, you know, per like couple, I forget, I was still in the days when he called me, but there's a formula on, one, you know, square inch, the length of the board, and how many weeks. So like 2x4 is like 6 to 8 months to dry out. So when I called SawStop to tell them, and tell them exactly what I thought, they said, oh yeah, that was it. They said, you know, no hand, no metal, you know, like this here. I pull them out, and I have a moisture meter, and I have a friggin' metal meter. But I don't use old wood or reclaimed wood, take it out of a house, a barn, whatever. So it's just sitting in my toolbox. And I never thought, and they said when you cut cedar, just like with pressure treated, I knew pressure treated because my friend's got, my contractor friend's got a SawStop contractor saw. And when he cuts pressure treated, he locks out the brake. But my keys, I can't even tell you what my key is to lock out the brake because I don't want to. I bought the saw because I didn't want to lose my fingers. Or fingers. So that is what you have to look out for. And I figured, you know, the wood wasn't sitting out in the rain, but really thinking about what happened, you know, we went down 20 boards and back one board. So like it was 20 boards, 2 stack high, and then there was like 2 boards left, and I found 2 boards back. So that was the that's the cause of it. So just be careful with cedar. It will it'll do this. So yeah, I hope you know, this was a good you know, it was a good learning experience for me, I'll tell you that. Okay, now SawStop, I don't know if, honestly, if they said that they want to send it back, but I asked them, hey, is there a possibility you could send it back to me? Because I really want to put this up to, you know, show, hey, this is what happened. But there's microchip in here, and you put this into a vise. You put this into a vise, and then you put vise grips on this, or a hammer and a block, and then you just basically beat the this off, or put this in a vise and hit it here and beat this off. Now you can, they said now you can send this to a certified blade sharpener retoother, and they will check it to see if it has bent, got out of square or round, and they say if it's good, you could reuse it. No, no, it's a trophy. So so that's that. I'll include SawStop's service number in the description below. But yeah, I tell you, it shocked me. It shocked me, and my hands were, you know, left and back about at least to 118 and say 2 feet from the blade, or maybe say 20 and 3 feet. But still, you know, I was back. Let's see. I'll turn the camera quick, and I'll show you at the saw. So this is the piece. So I was here. So figure I was right about here when it, because my hand was just at the end. My left hand was just at the end of the table pushing in, and this hand was pushing. So that's how far. And when the brake went off, I just went up and looked at my hands to see if I cut myself, because I heard the brake and I knew exactly what it was. Plus everything stops except the vacuum. So that was an experience and a half. All right, let's get into some glue. All right, they, as you know, in the last video, this company called Starbond called me up, and I have watched plenty of turners, pen turners, use the glue, and you know, but I've never, yeah, it's not in wood, it's not like something I would walk in, you know, and I'm so used to either the Gorilla Glue or the 2P-10 from Fast Cap, because I bought that, you know, with the big holder and a large thing. but I can't store it here in the garage because of the heat. It messes up the glue. I have lost tons of glue, tons of wood filler, tons of accelerant, just leaving it here in the garage. So I like the small little tubes. All right, they're 2 ounces. I've been using, now they sent me thin, medium, and thick. They're both in 2-ounce tubes. But then they also sent me a medium thick that dries jet black. And then this is how it comes in the box. This is actually medium that dries light brown. So it'll match the wood. So it comes with the 2-ounce tube, 2 tips, and as you can see, I have one here, hold on. Got the box. So basically it comes with the cover, but then it comes with the micro applicators. And let me get it, I'll actually just get it out of this because I just stored them. I stored them in here. So it comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 micro applicators, and it comes with this anti-clog tip. So after you cut it, and you know, everyone comes with a nice instruction sheet, and I will go through that in a second. So it covers the to prevent it from clogging. Now, when I came out here was messing with the wood is when I started using the red tip. I've had just this on inside my hobby room, and I basically used it to glue on about 20, and it's really, other stuff is setting, and I would have brought it out, but next video I'll bring it out and show you. It's a trailer for that Mammoth, and the thing is about 5 and almost 6 feet long, and I had to put on some resin pieces to ABS, and it worked. I mean, it's on there forever. But I've been messing around with it for wood, because when you're turning and you have wood pen, you could actually, you know, you can buff it out and you can color it and then wax it. But there is an application, and that will be, and the pen stuff, and I know a lot of users ask me, and it's coming up real quick. It's coming up real quick. I located everything, so it's going to come up real quick. Well, there's an application where you use the CA glue, and you basically apply the CA glue onto the wood part of the pen once you have it all sanded down, and then you take even a piece of paper towel, and you spin the lathe with your hand and you just rub. So you're basically putting layers of CA glue onto the pen, so you're encapsulating the wood pen almost like an acrylic, and it looked phenomenal. And that's how a lot of the pens that I've done, the cigar pens, where I put a cigar wrapper around it, glued that on with the CA glue, and then encapsulated it, you know, it'll never come off. So let's mess around. Now, let me show you here something quick. With the applicator, we use the applicator a lot with, okay, I can do it with this side of the tire. These are the RC tires, but a lot of the tires, these are bead locks, so they clamp on with outer rings, just like a regular car tire, and then these bolts. But a lot of times, you just put it over the hub, but then you have to get CA glue in here. That little mini applicator, you just hold it, and as you roll it, it'll put the CA glue right in here. We don't use accelerant. We put a big rubber band around it, leave it for 5 minutes, boom, the tire, you know, will rip off before it comes off. Okay, so I have, I got 2 pieces of wood. Basically, it's 2 pieces of poplar left over from a project that I was doing, and we'll use we'll actually use the aerosol can, because the accelerant is 2 ounces in a pump spray, and then this is 8 ounces in larger pump spray, and this dries clear on all of it. So that it's all the same accelerant. And this here is 10 ounces in an aerosol can. So I'm going to shut off this fan so we don't blow the accelerant all over the place. So we'll take the medium out. Now, with CA glue, you want to use just a little bit, a couple of drops. So we're just going to put a couple of drops. And then I'm going to take the aerosol can, put the accelerant on, and then let's glue this down. Clamp this, glue this down. Now let's try the pump sprayer. Both are the same. We'll try the thick. Let's try to. Oh, when you're done, get yourself a nice clean rag and just 4 or 5 times pull. Because you're going to have, what's going to happen is this will drop back down inside of the tube. Now, of course, it's a vacuum, so it's not going to go all the way. And then put your cap. Now, the cap has a little needle inside of it. Just find it and push it on. So let's try the thick. And this time I'll put it on to the other side of the wood. And that is, look how thick that is. And then we'll use the pump sprayer. Now I'm not even going to clamp this one. I'm not even clamping it. I'm just going to leave it to show you. Okay. Then clean the tip off 1, 2, 3, 5, and you know, hey, if you're not doing nothing, let's get this fan back on. Because it's hot here in Florida. And then let's get this tip back on. There you go. Nice. And the thin, we'll use the thin. Yeah, I'm not using the aerosol can. The thin is, look at that, it's like water. Flows really nice. I've used the medium and I've used the thick. Most of the thin that I use that's in my hobby room, which is pretty much it's hobby CA glue, is, you know, is thin for the tires. Now without clamping it, and without even letting it sit. I didn't leave a lot to grab on this one. See how much really power this thing will take to break off. Now you use, if you're gonna, on some of the pen stuff, I actually take, you see I got blocks of wood here. So I'll take a couple of different blocks of wood and I'll cut them. I have a little jig. For the table saw, I also can use a miter saw. And I cut to a 45, maybe a darker piece of ebony or a piece of African oak, and I'll stagger them. So 45 foot, so there'll be light, dark, just like you do in a cutting board. There's CA glue. And that's what I'm going to use. And I've used the 2P-10 all the time, but I'm going to try the we're going to try this. So let's see. I broke the wood. is the thin. And when you're going to glue this wood together, you're going to use medium or thick. Well, that's why they have the medium thick, which black and brown. So basically it'll almost look like your wood. So that's pretty strong. And you can see it was good adhesion, but again, that was thin. So that took quite a bit of hits, and a miss or two. So, all right, I will include their website, and I'm sending them a write-up of and some photos of what I did in my RC, because they wanted to know about the plastic, and because now that I do wood and I also do, you know, RC and models, they wanted to see what you know, how it worked with the models, because they were doing a little bit of research on it. And as far as the instruction sheet, which I don't want to forget to show you, so each bottle comes with the same sheet, and it basically tells you how to take off, how to cut it, and then how to, you know, there you go, with a rag to clean it, and then to put in the little anti-clog, and how to apply the precision applicator, which basically just slides right over the tube for you to get into, you know, like I said, that's what we use it for the tires. All right, YouTube. Again, I'd like to thank everybody for all of the comments, all of the likes, all of the subscribes, and my email will be below. Just give me, you know, shoot me a question, or shoot me your mailing address, and I'll send you a Mike Switch Up sticker. All right. I hope you all have a very good and safe weekend, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye now.